I forget who said it, but one thing I remembered is clutter is the disease of American writing. Well, let me give you an example of why um, omitting needless words matters to me. When I wrote my first novel, it came in at 135,000 words. I sent it off to 70 agents, see if they'd pick it up for me. 69 said, this does not meet our needs at this time. But the 70th photocopied 4 pages of it, and he sent it back to me and saying, listen, it's a very good story. You're a very good writer, but you're wordy. And I was going, the hell I am. And I stuck the novel up on a shelf, for 6 months before I swallowed my ego. But the first thing I did was I cut 7,000 words out of 135,000 because it was a redundant expression of a character trait.
Okay.
So I'm down to 128. It took me 2 months, but I went through every single sentence, trying to make each sentence one word shorter.
Okay.
Did that 3 times. I didn't lose a fact. I didn't lose a story element. I didn't use a character. I didn't lose anything. But I lost 30,000 words, getting down to 98,000 words.
Wow.
And one of the things that I teach kids is you want to rid your copy of extraneous words. Well, they tell them try to make each sentence one word shorter, repeat, repeat. But I also tell them to read it backwards, touching every word with a pencil, because sometimes you get fooled, your mind gets fooled by the sense of the sentence, and that's not exactly what you wrote. And they'll catch errors that way, but they'll also see words that, that word can't defend its existence in this story, and they'll take it out. But shorter, if you keep removing words that cannot defend their presence in a piece of writing, you end up with shorter sentences. Shorter sentences breed clarity.
Okay.
I'm not talking about a steady diet of shorter sentences. You need a variety of sentence lengths to increase tension, decrease tension, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at the New York Times lead sentences in virtually every story, and you're looking at 55, 60, 65 word sentences. And my head has exploded many times reading the Times.
I think you posted this on Facebook the other day. There was a tweet about Aaron Judge when he hit his 60-second home run. This week as we're recording this, last week as this comes out, and they had like the tweet, like he rounded the bases with a smile on his face.
On his face, yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah. I thought that was hysterical.
That is good. So I guess not to it's funny because when I had Dr. Rick Simpson on the podcast during the pandemic, that's the lesson that he taught me. I vividly remember him reading over one of my papers in freshman seminar, and I think I'm really good and I'm a good writer. And he does the thing where like he gets a page and a half and he's like, take this to the library, look up Strunk and White Rule 17, which is omit needless words, and then do the same thing that you did. So for sake of pushing back in conversation, how do you then, from omitting needless words, still have a piece that has life and have personality? That's not just
Brian, you reach into your lived experience, because your lived experience is probably going to be more similar than you think than the lived experience of your readers. I mean, you can't take these things apart in isolation. You bring to the act of writing who you are, who you have been, who you hope to be, plus everything you know about language use, and of course the enormous amount of research you've done on the topic you're writing about. Because one thing I've learned in my lifetime is if you don't know anything about it, don't write about it until you do.
Right. So aside from, you mentioned the pencil, working backwards, physically touching each word, trying to eliminate words from one word from each sentence. Any other tips that you have on omitting needless words?
Well, one of the things that I see students when they're writing in class is they'll write in one big, thick, black block of text without any paragraph breaks.
Kills me.
Well, it breeds error because they are only seeing a block of text. And I tell them, write a sentence, hit the return a couple of times, then write your next sentence, hit the return a couple of times. So your sentences are spaced out from another. And that way you can focus on one sentence at a time. Then when you think you've got the sentences where you want them, paragraph them the way you think they ought to be paragraphed. But you can't write a clear piece of writing unless you can write a series of clear sentences.
Right. What other, so somebody listening to this, whether it's a student, a grad student, a young journalist, an old writer, what are some things that they could do along with the omit needless word stuff this great stuff we've been talking about? What's some of the stuff they could do with their next piece of writing to make it better?
Well, one thing that they ought to be doing that they're not doing is simply reading more.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to be a steady diet. It doesn't have to be anything I'd be interested in reading, but just read. Get a sense of style, get a sense of cadence, get a sense of knowledge, but mostly be exposed to somebody else's lived experience. Because one of the things that I have trouble with is right now I have students who don't understand homonyms.
Okay.
And that's because they don't read enough. And they don't have a broad vocabulary that they should have at this point in their college careers because they're not reading enough. And even though they got a dictionary here, they've got a dictionary that they can put on the screen. They can put a thesaurus up there. I'm in the middle of writing novel number 3, and I'm using this dictionary and this thesaurus over and over again to get the right word. I mean, it is a moral imperative on the part of a writer to find the right word and cast out all the wrong ones.